Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back. It is the Carla and Crappy Show. I am Crappy. I'm here to tell you that football is stupid and I hate everything. And I don't really want to talk about college football this week, but I guess we will anyway. It's week 14 of the season, also known as Champinchip week. Champinchip week. And therefore it's also week 14 of the Carla and Crappy Show. As I mentioned previously, I am Crappy. There is Carla. There is AJ. We're going to go through all of the games, every single one of the championship games. Are we excited about this?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm not, but that's okay. I'll be right. I'm going to be just fine. We start, of course, by looking back at last weekend. And we always like to highlight the things that we thought were the coolest stuff, the coolest things that we saw. Carla, we will start with you. What was the best thing that you saw in week 13?
I will fully admit that I was a little bit distracted through a lot of stuff because my family was in town for Thanksgiving. So I had a house full of people.
Yep.
But I think the best thing that I saw all weekend, and it really pains me to say this, but it had to be the Iron Bowl. The end of the Iron Bowl was, and I hate the fact that's the best thing that I saw last weekend, but like the end of that Iron Bowl was bonkers. After Alabama looked nothing like Alabama, AJ, I think the word you said was looks broken. That Alabama looked broken through most of that game, and you just knew that they were going to find a way to break their hearts at the end of the game, and that's exactly what they did.
Yep.
So yeah, that and the fact that there was football on all weekend, which was awesome. The Egg Bowl was okay.
Yes.
Until the very end, which I didn't see. So I have to say the Iron Bowl, and like I said, my Big Ten heart breaks to say that. Sorry.
You gotta call it like you see it. AJ, what did you come across last weekend that you thought was cool?
I have a way to be a jerk here, and I have a way to not be a jerk here. I'm going to choose to not be a jerk.
Okay.
And I'm going to choose Bedlam. Because, all right. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with how absolutely lopsided the Bedlam rivalry is?
I made a John Cooper comparison a show or two ago, I believe.
It is.
So yeah, I'm aware.
It is Oklahoma 90-19. Oklahoma State doesn't win this game literally ever, right? This is not a quote unquote rivalry in so much as these two schools don't like each other a whole bunch, but one school wins all the time and the other school doesn't win pretty much ever. So it was really great to see Oklahoma State get a win here. And they did it in a very different than normal fashion where they absolutely shut down Oklahoma's offense for the entire second half. Oklahoma scored 9 points, and it was because Oklahoma State gave them 9 points. They gave a safety and then a fumble touchdown very quickly, back to back. And I thought, well, this is it. This is where it's all gone wrong. And congratulations, Oklahoma State. You played yourself, and this is what's going to happen. And they didn't. They actually found a way. They fought back. They should have won that game by a lot more based on the way that they were playing and the way that they shut down Oklahoma. And they got Lincoln Riley to quit. So I'm choosing to believe that Bedlam is actually what broke it. They like USC called up Lincoln Riley and they said, "Hey, do you want to do that again?" Lincoln was like, "Nah, I'm good, and I'm going to go leave for California." So OSU made his ass quit.
That's those are both excellent examples, and I mean it was an awesome rivalry week. The only thing I will say about my game is to quote John U. Bacon, who is a writer from some backwater in Southeast Michigan. I can't remember what the name of the town is. He says, "If you don't think it matters, ask the guy who lost." You guys don't need to ask me, and I don't need to elaborate. But yeah,
if I may.
Yeah.
It was actually there are a lot of people who got to feel some real catharsis through that game. There were a lot of people in those stands who actually got to feel it. Great for Michigan. Hey, Ohio State, you now have something to play for. You don't have that very often. You now have something to play for.
That is absolutely true.
So I expect next year to be, hey, Ohio State, you haven't had a revenge game in a while. You haven't gotten to do that. You spent all your points on Michigan State. You might want to find a defensive coordinator who can stop somebody from running the ball.
We got time. We got time to work on that stuff. Not having seen a whole lot of actual football stuff that I was super thrilled about. Let's talk about coaches, because the fun started almost immediately upon the conclusion of the game Saturday.
I hope you all are watching.
Yeah, if you're just listening, go watch the first 5 minutes of the show, because there is it. Yeah, it's gonna be. So Lincoln Riley is ghosting the entire state of Oklahoma. There are other things that are happening around there. Billy Napier stepped up to the big leagues and got the job at Florida. Brian Kelly. That was the one that sort of, the Athletic posted something, and then a half hour later they said, "Oh wait, it's done." Let's start just a couple different questions. I'm curious about what you guys think of the ones we know of so far. Which school hit the home run? Which school has made the best change that we are aware of as of Tuesday afternoon at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Thursday evening?
I'll let Carla go. I have many thoughts here.
It's not LSU.
Okay.
No.
I know that. I'm happy that Napier moved up. I don't know, and I mentioned this. We've been texting each other like crazy over the last 24 hours.
Yes.
I'm not fully convinced that Florida is the right fit for him. But I like the fact that he's up in that he's in the SEC. I just don't know if he's gonna have the support that he needs at Florida. Because that athletic department is kind of a little bit of a train wreck at the moment, and I want to see him succeed. So that's it's an okay fit. Lincoln Riley at SC. He feels like he's got the personality to do it. Yeah. But I still can't believe he took the job, because that program is just a complete mess. He must really not have wanted to go to the SEC. That's the only thing I can figure. So I don't know. I think it's a toss up between Florida and SC at this point.
Okay.
The rumors flying around of Venables possibly going to Oklahoma. Venables makes more sense at LSU to me. Defensive guy going to a place where they typically have some pretty decent defenses, but okay, whatever. We'll see if that has legs. I haven't seen anything about that in the last 24 hours or in the last 12 hours.
Yeah,
so that might not be.
He is a Midwestern guy. And I went to, did he go to Kansas or Kansas State? I don't remember. One of the two.
I don't remember.
So his roots are in that part of the country. AJ, I understand you have a thought or two about what's going on here.
So one, Brent Venables, this is a Mama's Colin situation. If he goes to Oklahoma, this is a Mama's Colin situation. He was co-DC from 99 to 03 and assistant head coach in DC from 04 to 2011. He was he was at Oklahoma for over a decade before he went to Clemson. So this is definitely a Mama's Colin situation if it happens. The interesting part to me, at least about any hire of Venables to Oklahoma, is all of the various reports over the last, 5 years. His name comes up in every coaching search over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that he doesn't want to deal with all the program management. He doesn't want to kiss the babies and shake the hands. And okay, to go from that to Oklahoma is a big deal. I absolutely see them going for Brent in to bolster defense going into SEC play.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't just air raid and score 1 million points. The SEC defenses will eat you alive.
Yes.
You pair him with a good OC, it can work. I think the actual best hire, there's 2 hires that I think are really, really great. The first one is Lincoln Riley to SC.
Okay.
Lincoln Riley can recruit his ass off.
Yeah, he can.
And one of the things that was very interesting, there's a school that we were texting about this, but I'll tell everybody things from our texts. There's a school in Southern California called Los Alamitos that had multiple 5-star athletes on offense that were all committed to Oklahoma, and all of them decommitted, and their 5-star quarterback, Malachi Nelson, just committed a half hour ago to USC. So he's going to bring in massive talent. Yeah. He's been pulling kids out of Southern California for a while now. This is not new. So now you have him as the coach of the most prestigious football school in the Pac-12 South, right? I have a feeling and a pretty good inkling that he's going to bring USC back to God tier USC, which is bad news for Arizona State. It's bad news for UCLA, but it's great news for the Pac-12 overall. The other hire is Kailyn Deboer, former Fresno State head coach, now current coach at Washington. He is a fantastic fit. He was great at Fresno State. Big Ten fans, you may remember him as the coach of the Indiana teams you hated or the OC of the Indiana teams you've hated over the last 5 years. He was the OC after Kevin Wilson left.
Yes.
So if you watched Indiana score a stupid amount of points on your team for no reason at all, you can thank Kailyn Deboer. And now he's the head coach at the University of Washington, which means you now have a Washington team with a good coach and a great fit. You have Oregon with Mario Cristobal.
Absolutely.
You have Lincoln Riley at USC. You have Chip down at UCLA. And low-key, Jake Dickert at Washington State, I think, is a fantastic fit. And I'm really glad that they did not go for any sort of splashy hire. They gave the interim tag to him, and he brought them back from, the tailspin of Nick Rolovich up and got them back into a bowl. So plenty of good things happening in the Pac-12. I'm very excited for future Pac-12 After Darks based on so far on the carousel.
It was really cool. The situation of Washington State. They had to deal with a situation that could only happen in 2021. And they got through it, and the guy performed well. So let's keep him. He's earned it. That is always a good thing to see in college football. I want to talk. None of us seem to think that Brian Kelly going to LSU is a home run. AJ, why not?
To quote Dragonfly Jones on Twitter, he seems like a guy who thinks Sprite is spicy. So
too spicy, I think was the quote.
Too spicy. Who thinks that Sprite is too spicy? So, all right, I can go one of two ways on Brian Kelly to LSU. If he goes out and makes the right coordinator hires, which is really what got Orgeron fired. Orgeron got fired because he had Joe Brady and Dave Aranda on the 2019 team with talent, and they just blew everybody away.
Yes.
And his reload hires were not good. Reminder, his reload defensive coordinator hire was Bo Pelini. So the coordinator hires are going to be important here. There's been a lot of smoke around him wanting to bring Tommy Rees and Marcus Freeman down to LSU.
Right.
Marcus Freeman would be a great one. Tommy Rees, I think, would go because Brian Kelly's his mentor. Tommy can call a good offense and now give him literal 5-star talent whenever he wants it. I think it could be a good fit. A reminder, the last time that LSU got a head coach from the Midwest who had no Southern ties, they won a national title and lost another national title game. So it's not like this isn't precedented. One Leslie Edward Miles, who once went down to LSU and did really well.
Well,
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban didn't have a whole lot of experience in the South before he showed up at LSU.
But he was able to pull out his West Virginia good old boy network. He knew how to work that and pull a Southern accent out of his butt to make that happen. I think the interesting part here for LSU is that there are a lot of people around the program who were not pleased with Ed Ogeron culturally.
Mhm.
They did not like the Cajun side. They were not happy with how goofy Les Miles was. They thought that both of those coaches, even though they won national titles, were detrimental to the program's image and the appearance of the program. They want to be a country club program, but they keep hiring weird people. So hiring Brian Kelly was a country club hire. I heard that over the last day. It's been really interesting to hear that angle of it, because it felt like Ed O at LSU was like absolutely perfect. And it to a lot of the big boosters in the program, it really wasn't.
Okay. Carla, what Brian Kelly at LSU is going to do how?
I don't know. And I'm still intrigued as to the move for him. I guess maybe he's tired of being an independent and wants a legitimate way to play in. Change of scenery. Like, I don't really, I don't know exactly the reason why. I totally understand. And AJ, the country club hire really makes a lot of sense. But did they go too far in the other direction? Like, I feel like LSU playing in the West, when you're competing with those coaches that you have in the SEC West, you kind of need somebody that has at least somewhat of a personality, right? That's not Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, you got to stand out somehow. Because even Saban's got a little bit of a personality, right? Like, they joke about him like smiling at the end of a game, like he wouldn't smile until like they won the national title on the sidelines. Like, like there's little quirkinesses about him. There aren't any quirkinesses to Brian Kelly.
None.
So here's the thing. The thing with Saban and some of the other coaches out there is that they don't have to turn it on for everybody.
No.
They have to turn it on for boosters. They got to turn it up for recruits. That's it. Right. So Brian Kelly can be as glass of milk as he'd like to be to the actual public and in the media. But Brian Kelly's also like a maniacally angry dude. Right. We all have the jokes about Brian Kelly. Like, listen, Brian Kelly looks good in purple. We've already seen it. He was just wearing a navy blue jacket too. Right. So all of these things about Brian Kelly, I think it's going to come down to they want to win, and they want to win I think they want to get to be Saban. They're still chasing the fact that Saban left and then went to Alabama, basically went to Miami for a spell and then came back to Alabama and has won 5 national titles since then.
Yes.
They're still chasing the fact that they let Nick Saban go. And they want to get back to that prestige. They want to be like, well, of course they're going to win. They're LSU, right? Of course they're going to win. They're Bama. Bama was bad before Nick Saban got there. Really, really trash bad. They lost to ULM in his first year. Like, they want to get to that level. They know that Brian Kelly can go recruit, and they have like first right of refusal to the entire state of Louisiana.
Yes. They
want to see what Brian Kelly, person who has brought Notre Dame to the playoff multiple times, to, hey, let's give him 5-star talent and see what he can do.
Okay. Hi, Charlie. Last question, and I'd love to hear both of you answer this. Who gets the jobs at Oklahoma and Notre Dame? AJ?
Oh, if you hear Notre Dame fans, tell it they want Marcus Freeman right now. They don't want to wait. They want Marcus Freeman right now. He's already in the building. You give him a promotion. Everybody goes home happy. Jack Swarbrick came out and said they're not going to, whoever is the interim is not part of the search, which tells me they're probably going to put the interim tag on like their special teams coordinator or something like that.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is a big name program. You need to have program running chops. And Notre Dame doesn't exactly have a great history of first-year coaches, which is what gives me pause on someone like Marcus Freeman. Luke Fickell's right there.
I did want to remind you that and this was back in the 80s. Notre Dame hired a coach named Jerry Faust straight out of his high school job at Cincinnati Moeller. Granted, he had an incredible run at Cincinnati Moeller, a big Catholic school in Cincinnati, multiple state titles, and it was a disaster on pretty much every level. And the immediately preceding Brian Kelly, Notre Dame didn't exactly have a solid record of hiring successful coaches or coaches that didn't doctor resumes or stuff like that. My guess would be that there might be some hesitation, whether it's fair to Marcus Freeman or not. There might be some hesitation right there to promoting a guy to his very first head coaching job at that school.
Yeah, I think Luke Fickell's right there. Luke Fickell basically has two dream jobs. One is Notre Dame, the other is Ohio State. And unless Ryan Day goes to the NFL or decides to just quit coaching forever for some reason, which he's not, Luke Fickell's easily, like, they could just go, hey, Luke, you want this job? Cool, and move on. So I think they would be very silly to not make that phone call, but I also could see them saying, hey, Luke, give us a call when you're done with the playoff. Thanks. And not very much try to not be a distraction. They've already come out and said this is not going to be a quick search. They are not going to try and jump onto the warp speed carousel. Yes. So I think Luke Fickell is easily the person there. Brent Venables, I think, is the front runner in Oklahoma. Okay. I could totally see them. I don't see them aiming anywhere below that. They're Oklahoma. They're a top 5 job. Oklahoma hasn't had to replace a coach since 1946. They've never had anybody leave that they didn't know was going to leave. Like Bud Wilkinson retired. Yes. Bob Stoops retired. Barry Switzer retired. There's no sort of like they've never had to replace a coach like that. Yeah. Right. So this is very, very new to them, to the point where Oklahoma fans were asking if they still have to have a bowl game because they don't have a coach. They've not had to live this life. Meanwhile, like half of college football has had to do this easily every single year. So I think Brent Venables is the front runner. It's going to be interesting to see him and how does he pair with an OC. Okay.
Carla, what do you think? Notre Dame and Oklahoma.
Oh, Notre Dame, I'm totally with you on the Fickell front. I definitely think that their top pick is Fickell, and I think the fact that the administration came out and said that it was going to be a lengthy search, it was kind of an indicator that they were waiting. They're waiting to see how this plays out for Cincinnati and all that. So I think that was kind of a bit of a hat tip that they want Fickell and they're going to go try to get him, but they're going to wait until after the playoffs over. So I think that's the slam dunk there. I do think Venables is probably the front runner at Oklahoma. I think an intriguing person that nobody has talked about, and I have no idea whether they would even consider him, but just throwing this out there for funsies. Dana Holgorsen is sitting at the University of Houston, and he wanted to go back to Texas because that's where he was from. Oklahoma's not that far away, and he would get an SEC job. I don't know. I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's happy where he is. I think he wanted out of that pressure. I think he's going to stay at Houston, but I'm just saying he's sitting down there.
Okay. I'll say this about Holgorsen, and I don't know how deep rivalries run. But Holgorsen was an Oklahoma State OC. He's from the Polk side of the house. Going to Oklahoma is not new for Dana. In fact, there's stories about Dana like living way outside of Stillwater. Like he had a 2-hour drive each way to get to Stillwater at some point. So I could totally see Dana Holgorsen going for that job. I think the question is going to be, what does Oklahoma want their identity to be?
Yeah.
They've seen Dana in the Big 12, and they've not seen Dana do well in the Big 12. Right? He did fine at WVU. He was not great at WVU. Yeah. Right. Brent Venables, meanwhile, has been the defensive coordinator in and has multiple rings in national championship games. Right. By the way, he got a ring as a BCS national champion when Oklahoma won it in 2000. So he actually has 3 rings, 2 with Clemson, 1 with Oklahoma.
That's right. That's right.
This is not unheard of for Brent Venables and Oklahoma. I think it would be interesting to see him bring a defensive philosophy to Oklahoma as they go into the SEC and pair him with Heck, pair him with Dana as OC. Pair him with somebody as. I mean, I think Dana's salary at Houston is probably in the 2 to 2.5 range. Pay him 3 to be OC at Oklahoma.
That's not bad.
You didn't
would
have
not
to pay a
be
buyout for Lincoln to leave.
Would not be a bad gig.
Hey, go find yourself an up and coming OC.
Okay.
To pair with Venables as head coach and give him like a DC to hire to basically just call the plays. I mean, this is the sort of thing. Oklahoma has every option available to them, and I think that's really where they should focus. By the way, Oklahoma fans, I love you. Calm down. It's okay.
Everything's fine. It'll be okay.
I just want you to know that like 20 to 30 schools do this like every year.
Yeah,
it's okay. The program's not going to fall apart. I know that you're really worried about your recruiting class, and they're probably all going to go to SC. I get it, but you need to take a deep breath in, a deep breath out, and just in through the nose, out through the mouth, and it's going to be okay. I promise.
I have read today, and I haven't read anything since that would contradict this, that Oklahoma is going to at least take a run at Cliff Kingsbury. Any possibilities there? That feels like a long shot, grabbing an NFL guy and bringing him back to the Big 12, even though it's going to be an SEC job in a couple of years. What do you think?
I could conceptually, yes, but Cliff is having a ton of success in the NFL right now.
Just a little, yeah.
I don't see him leaving a successful NFL job with Kyler and JJ Watt and friends to come back to going and sitting in recruit living rooms. Buddy has a crazy nice house in Southern California or in Arizona. I don't know if you saw the NFL draft thing where he's sitting in his like palatial estate. Yeah. It's ridiculous, right?
Oh God. Okay.
Cliff doesn't need it, right? So I could see them giving Cliff a call. I don't think Cliff is going to necessarily reciprocate. The only other thing I could see for any of these sorts of things, I don't see any NFL coaches coming down. One of the other things I think is interesting is the number of coaches who've gotten big extensions, just gigantic extensions. Looking at you, James Franklin. Looking at you, Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker got Jimbo's deal. Mel Tucker at Michigan State got Jimbo's deal. What? James Franklin's getting $7.5 million a year. What?
They should buy a better land grant trophy, I think is what they should be forced to do.
Please.
Carla, Cliff Kingsbury, is that even a possibility?
I don't think so. I agree with everything AJ said. He's having too much success in the NFL. Why would you want to go back to that lifestyle? He's living up in Arizona. He's got one of the best teams in the NFC right now. Like, I don't see him going back. If he was at a mediocre NFL team, then yes, I think there would be a possibility there, but he's just having too much success. No, he's not going back.
Right. If he's coaching, not to do a repeat of what happened with Saban, but if he's coaching the Dolphins right now and he's like 4-7 and it's just not working out, sure. You know what? Hey, yes. NFL, we had a good run. I'm out. But he's currently a coach of like an 8-1 NFL team. Like, he's not going anywhere.
No. We the coaching carousel will continue rolling here. Maybe all the way through and past the national title game.
AJ's spinning again if you're not watching.
I'm gonna get myself dizzy.
We will keep an eye on that and bring it up in subsequent shows as necessary. There is one thing we have to do to close out the regular season of 2021, and I'm not. AJ might be able to tell us how this actually worked, but there is one game that is not a conference title game.
Yes,
on the schedule for this weekend. It fits AJ's modus operandi perfectly because it starts at 11 p.m. Eastern. It is, in effect, the final After Dark game of the 2021 season, which means we're going to do this live. Once again, the final After Dark report of the 2021 season. AJ, please take it.
So some of you may remember about 2 weeks ago, there was a Cal USC game that got canceled due to Cal having quite a COVID outbreak. Those still happen, by the way. Go get vaccinated.
Yes.
And the game got postponed. And the reason it got postponed is because there was a hope at the time that USC might be fighting for bowl eligibility. This is not unprecedented. There have been multiple games like this. Florida State famously played, I think it was ULM a couple of years ago after a hurricane washed the game out.
Yeah, I think that's right.
This has happened a couple times in SEC, in the SEC, where games have gotten postponed to the very end of the year for teams effectively playing for bowl eligibility. Both of these teams are 4-7. No one's playing for absolutely anything here. This is really for fresh air and exercise.
This is for AJ. This game.
This is
for AJ.
This is for content. I'm going to watch this whole game. I'm sorry. I started the season watching currently bowl-bound UTEP and Jerry Kill coached New Mexico State play on cable television in New Mexico. I watched it via the New Mexico NBC channels live stream. I have a problem. It's mine to deal with. And so we're going to finish this year with Cal at USC playing for literally nothing. I hope no one gets hurt. I hope they have a great time. And USC next year should be really good. And Cal should continue to be very bad. So yes, you should stay up and watch this game. It's on at 11. It kicks off at 11 p.m. on FS1 for no reason.
You're in bed by 2. It's fine. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. You'll be in bed by 2.
Unless there's overtime. But
no one needs no one needs more of this football game. I hope it ends cleanly at the end of the fourth quarter. If we get overtime, it's true sicko hours only, and you should go to bed.
Okay. Do you have thoughts about how this game's going to go?
Cal is very bad. USC is only kind of bad, so I expect USC to win. However, this is the final test of the USC is butt at home corollary. Let's see how this plays out. This could be Cal jumps up and gets USC, and if that happens, this will be hilarious. Lincoln Riley will have to watch this game in person. I need you to know this. Lincoln Riley will be watching this game.
He'll still be kind of jet lagged too, because he's going to be on Central Time, and he's going to be.
He's already in Southern California.
He's
already there.
That's true.
They had a press conference with the tiny little Hollywood sign over his shoulder, where he was like, "Yeah, they called Saturday night. They called and said, hey, do you want to get on a Zoom tomorrow?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll get on a Zoom tomorrow." And then he was signed as the head coach. That's apparently how this went. Meanwhile, his agent's like, "Yeah, we've known about this for a month. We just didn't tell him."
Oh, by the way, Coach, you got to go to Southern California. Carla, do you have a thought about how this game's going to
go? I would agree with the assessment that Cal is more bad than USC is, and I think USC is going to ride this momentum. I think they'll figure out a way to win the game based off of just all the energy around the program this week. But yeah, meaningless football is fun.
Meaningless football is fun. I'm picking Cal. I don't care. Why not? Why not?
By the way,
lots of distractions. What? Yes.
By the way, please, someone name me the 2021 the interim head coach at USC. Please name him. You can't.
I cannot. Without cheating. Yeah.
Associate head coach and cornerbacks coach Dante Williams. Why would you make Dante Williams your interim head coach?
I would.
He is an absolute banger of a recruiter and held together the recruiting class. So Lincoln comes in and has a fairly well stocked cupboard to walk into.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Shout out to Dante Williams. You had to watch a lot of butt football in front of you, and you didn't deserve that. This is not the way you start a head coaching career. It's okay. And yeah. He's also the passing game coordinator too.
Oh, okay. Sure. That's an interesting combination. Okay. There's meaningless football with which we can wrap up the regular season, with the exception of the Army Navy. But we have a whole bunch of games, 10 of them to be precise. That would mean the group of 5 and the power of 5, and that becomes 10. And you put those together. We start at 7 p.m. on Friday. and we go all the way through Saturday. So let's get to it. Let's go at 7 p.m. in the Alamo Dome. I'm going to let you figure out what city that's in. The Conference USA title game, Western Kentucky at UTSA. The Hilltoppers are favored by 1. The AJ Fun Index is a very respectable 71.5 points. The AJ, this is a group of 5 game. We will let you take first crack at this.
So the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. So this is
you gave it away.
I'm sorry. I had to remember the Alamo, crappy.
Okay. Yes, that's true. That's true.
Western Kentucky coming in with Bailey Zappi, who is a absolute monster of a quarterback. His current stat line is if he throws for more than 32 yards in this game, which I highly expect him to do, he will have thrown for 5,000 yards this year. He also has 52 touchdowns. They are running the purest form of the air raid outside of Mike Leach at Western Kentucky, and they're going to go into an indoor stadium in Texas. UTSA, what happened? We were rooting for you.
I know.
We were all rooting for you.
Come on.
And North Texas, the mean green got so mean. So the meep beeps got meeped, and yeah. So hey, they're still here in the Conference USA title game. They still have a conference title that they could potentially go win. This game should be stupid fun with a ton of offense. You should watch this game on Friday night at 7 p.m., not 4 p.m. as my screen shows it, because I'm currently in the Pacific time zone in Las Vegas, just outside the Pac-12 title game. I have a problem. I'm not going to the game. I'm not going to be here for the game.
Do you have a pick for this game?
Yeah, I'm picking. I respectfully meep, but no, Western Kentucky.
Okay, Carla.
So UTSA actually has a really, really good rush defense. Too bad that's not going to matter against Western. So unfortunately, I am, and what I saw about, you're talking about what happened to UTSA. I read some, I didn't see that game because, again, you know how this works. I don't get that. I don't get ESPN Plus. So from what I read, a lot of the starters sat in the second half of that game after North Texas kind of took the lead, knowing that they were playing for a conference title game. They, like, the quarterback sat, and they played some second stringers and just kind of said, well, okay. From what I understand. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, I teach at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State. I am not allowed to root for anything that Western Kentucky does. So my pick in this game, meep. Also, sometime, not on the show, but let me tell you the story about how difficult it is to get pizzas delivered to the Alamo Dome, because I had to do that during the Army All-American game in January of 2012 when I was down there working. It's a hilarious story that sometime maybe we'll do an extra episode of the podcast, and I will tell the story about how I had to have 25 pizzas delivered to the Alamo Dome, and I chased them for 2 hours.
I think I've heard the story, and yes, it is worth telling, but we will do that at another time. Bailey Zappi, when I looked up the numbers, came across the same stuff. He's not only going to surpass 5,000 yards during this game, he's going to probably do it during Western Kentucky's first possession. But this will be a fun one. This absolutely will be a fun game to watch. But I expect that Western Kentucky's offense is a bit too much to handle for the Meepers, and Western Kentucky will win CUSA's title. Yes.
Bailey Zappi is a senior this year. He has started since he was a freshman.
Oh, well, that would explain. Yeah.
So if my numbers are right, even including a shortened 2020 season, he's broken 10,000 total yards and has thrown for over 100 touchdowns through his college career.
That's pretty good.
Some might say it's okay.
Okay. This is at 8 p.m. on Friday in Las Vegas. AJ will not be attending. No. But this is a big step up from Santa Clara and in the championship games that no one ever attended. This is your Pac-12 championship game at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. It is on ABC. It features number 10 Oregon versus number 17 Utah. you say, didn't they just play this game? And I say, yes, they did. And that's why Utah is favored by 3. And it has an AJ Fun Index of a meh 59.5 points. Carla, what do you think?
So yeah, we just saw this game, right? And we saw what Utah did to Oregon, and not a whole lot has changed between these two teams. They've each played another game, and now we're back doing this again. But as we say every year during championship week, it's really hard to beat a team twice in the same season.
I have that written in my notes right here. It's this like word for word. That's kind of scary.
Every year.
It's like we've been doing this show for 10 years.
For 10 years or something. Yeah. We're finishing each other's sentences now. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard to beat a team twice in the same year. And this time they're playing on a neutral field as opposed to last time where Utah was playing at home. Now, Utah still should win this game. Are we going to see a game like we saw 2 weeks ago? No. We're not going to see a Utah total blowout here. This game's going to be much, much, much closer. Utah should still win this game. They're the better team between these two, but expect this game to be much, much closer than what we saw 2 weeks ago.
Okay. AJ?
I think the thing that broke the game last time was the punt return right at the end of the first half, right? Oregon was already down 2 touchdowns, and they were basically punting it away to like, okay, there was literally, as time expired in the first half is how the punt return worked. So I think if that punt return doesn't happen, Oregon comes out, I believe they were getting the ball to start the second half. So they were like, hey, let's punt it away. Let's go into the locker room. Let's figure some things out, come out, and we can go,
in good shape.
Score a touchdown and bring it back to within 7.
Yes.
And then they went down 21. And then it was just like, you're broken. You're not coming back from this. They basically said, okay, we see how this game is going to go. This is not our night. We'll get them next time. This time, I can see Oklahoma coming into this game, 1, looking for revenge, and 2, you don't have a raucous Utah Stadium to go deal with. I see the Ducks winning.
Okay. Thinking about home field advantage, certainly that was a very cool atmosphere. When they played this at Utah. I don't know how excited Mormons would get about going to Las Vegas. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, not the Mormons. Wrong team, my friend.
Yes, but still, I mean that is a facet of the state of Utah. I'm leaning Utah here. I know the adage that Carla recited word for word from my notes as if she was reading them. I feel like there is enough of a separation between the two teams. It will be tighter, but I think the Utes, as they say, the Utes of the Utes, will win this for the second time this season. This takes us to Saturday. We begin at noon in Jerry World with the Big 12 Championship. This is on ABC. Number 9 Baylor versus number 5 Oklahoma State. Not Oklahoma. Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are favored by 5. This has the probably the most surprising AJ Fun Index of the entire weekend. A Big 12 championship game has an over-under number of 46.5 points. AJ, what do you think about this one?
Oklahoma State, weirdly, this year has made their name with defense. I believe last week I referred to them as Dollar Store Georgia. They have a really, really good defense and a just kind of okay offense, which is very much not what Oklahoma State or many of the Pac-12 or not Pac-12, Big 12 teams have been doing over the last 5 to 10 years, right? It's all been pew, more offense than not. Baylor also coming in very stout on defense with a pretty good offense. And so, yeah, this is going to be a defensive struggle in a Big 12 title game. I regret to inform all of you. Give me Oklahoma State. They need to win to potentially make the playoff, assuming other games that happen later in the day. remove one of the current top 4 teams. A reminder of the top 4 teams, since this is Tuesday night, we start with Georgia at 1. Carla had it up earlier. It's Georgia at 1, Michigan 2, Alabama 3, Cincinnati 4 currently.
Knife.
Do I have that backwards?
Knife in my chest. No, you're correct. You're correct. You got it.
So I think what ends up happening here is potentially, if Georgia does what I expect Georgia to do, which is to beat the pants off of Alabama, this opens a spot for Oklahoma State to get in. They need to win. They are going to come out fired up. They are going to want to really show that, yeah, that 1 and the 11-1, we're going to go ahead and take care of that. So,
okay. Carla, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is one of those games where, again, what AJ said, we talked about this last week, that Oklahoma State is winning games because of its defense, which is not something we talk about in Big 12 all the time. Here's the thing. Oklahoma State is strongest against the run, right? We talked about that last week, that Oklahoma State has the number 4 rush defense in the entire country right now. Baylor likes to run the football. That's what happened the last time that these two teams played. It was a tight game. But again, this is another rematch. Tough to beat a team twice in the same season. But I agree with what AJ said. I think Oklahoma State knows that they are sitting on the cusp of getting into the playoff. I think they're going to come out fired up, and they're going to find a way to win this football game.
I love the idea of teams of destiny and how that stuff works. And Baylor kind of feels like that. They had the awful scandals with Art Briles and everybody involved with that stuff. Have cleaned house, and I think have gotten back to this point sort of ahead of schedule. It would be fun a Big 12 matchup that in the title game that is based on 2 teams that got there with defense is weird enough as it is. The completely weird thing would be for Baylor to complete sort of their Cinderella season and come away with a conference championship before the conference becomes something else after Texas and Oklahoma depart. My recommendation actually might be to watch the MAC title game instead, and we're going to talk about that in just a second because it's on at the same time. My pick, I agree with you guys. Oklahoma State has the motivation. They know they have to take care of business if they have a shot of getting finishing in the Final Four. So perhaps not exciting in the traditional Big 12 sense, but should be an excellent game, and I think Oklahoma State will narrowly come out on top. But guys, watch this one instead. I'm going to take AJ's thunder. Noon at Ford Field in lovely Detroit, Michigan. It is MACtion. It is the MAC title game. It's on ESPN. Kent State versus Northern Illinois. The Golden Flashers are favored by 2.5 points. There is the AJ Fun Index of a MACtion appropriate 73.5 points. Carla, ready for some action?
Of course.
Sweet.
But I will say this: we laugh about this every year. That congratulations, you're playing for a MAC title in Detroit. Whatever.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
The MAC did its very best Pac-12 impersonation this year.
It really did.
In that we always say that the Pac-12 eats its young, and that's exactly what the MAC did this year. Because if you look at these two teams' records, Kent State is 7-5.
Yes.
Northern Illinois is 8-4, and they're playing for a conference title.
Yes.
That's
awesome.
about as MAC as you can get.
Yes.
Right. This game's not going to have a whole lot of defense. Both of these teams allow more points than they score, and they're playing for a conference title. Both of these, well, no, I take that back. Northern Illinois allows more yards than they rack up. I thought both teams did, but no, Kent State actually it's a little bit closer.
Well, okay, that speaks well.
It's almost equal how many yards that they produce on offense and what they stop. This game's going to be stupid fun. Who's going to win? Northern Illinois got blown out by a directional Michigan last week.
Yes.
And Kent State's Kent State is they beat Miami in overtime by a single point. Maybe ride the hot hand here. Kent, sure. Kent State, go Flashes.
Sweet. AJ, what do you think?
Northern Illinois has I believe the phrase that I would like to use here is a shamrock jammed in their ass. They've won multiple games by single scores. They are the anti-Nebraska, right?
Okay.
When they get beat, they get whomped, right?
Yes.
They lost 63-10 to Michigan. They lost 50-43 to Wyoming, a team that almost didn't beat UConn. Last week they got blown up by Western Michigan. The direction is Western. They did beat Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not really a thing that this year, but they did beat Georgia Tech. They won against Georgia Tech by 1. They beat Toledo by 2. They beat Eastern Michigan by 7. They beat Bowling Green by 8. They beat Central by 1. They lost to Kent State by 5. They beat Ball State by 1, and they beat Buffalo by 5. They're not blowing anybody out, right? By the way, their points scored, points against is ruined by that Michigan score. If you take that Michigan score out, they're neck and neck, right? I'm sorry, Michigan's in the playoff. Sorry, y'all.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So Northern Illinois, give me Northern Illinois. Give me the Huskies. Listen, let luck take you the rest of the way this year. Yes, you got blown out by a directional Michigan. UTSA lost to North Texas. Directions get us all. Directions can get you.
Yes.
Okay, they can be confusing. So Northern Illinois, a directional Illinois school, will be winning your MAC title game, and it should be a very stupid and fun game. And you should watch this game like on a second screen with the Big 12 title game. First screen
is what I'm saying. Because you'll if you're watching the Big 12 title game on a small screen and you miss something, you're not going to miss like 2 touchdowns, and that actually could happen if you miss something with Kent and Northern Illinois. I am giving total credit here to Kent coach Sean Lewis. He took a perennial loser, as in losing records for maybe for the whole decade prior to his arrival, and had turned it around. And the chance for Kent to win their first MAC title since 1972. And I'm all in on the Golden Flashers. Let's go, Kent. Bring that title back to Kent.
First of all, how dare you? 2012, Kent State went 11-3.
Okay, so maybe not a whole decade.
And guess what happened? Guess what happened in that really great season? They lost to Northern Illinois in the MAC title game.
They were the East champions and then won the bowl game. I think won a bowl game that year. Is that correct?
They very much did not. They lost to Arkansas State by 4.
Okay. Next up, we travel to Dignity Health Sports Park, is somewhere in the Los Angeles metropolitan area at 3 p.m. on Saturday. You will find the Mountain West Championship. You will find that on the Fox network. Utah State versus number 19 San Diego State. The Aztecs are favored by 5.5. The AJ Fun Index is a very Midwestern 50. The AJ, this is we're starting in the home of the LA Galaxy here. What do you think is gonna happen?
Punt God on national television too.
Yes. We're here for the punts.
We are here for the punts. Yes, this is the only time where I will allow Midwestern football to happen because it's happening in the Mountain West, so it's cool. Utah State, an absolute turnaround of a season for Blake Anderson and the Aggies. Brady Hoke once again living his best life in San Diego. This game should be like nice, just like a nice little thing on the side. This isn't your main appetizer. There's plenty of other games we're about to talk about. This actually, I think, could be a really good, really close game. And it will actually be determined by things like field position. And when you have a literal, in my opinion, Matt Araiza should have been up for the Heisman. I don't think he is, but he should be voted. He should get Heisman votes for his abilities.
Okay.
We'll go look.
Okay.
I know at least one voter did put him on there. I do know of one Heisman voter who put Matt Araiza on his Heisman ballot. So that's great.
Okay. Carla, what do you think?
Punt God didn't do all that well on national TV last week. I was kind of disappointed. I caught most of that game, and he was directional kicking. Like, he didn't have the big boomers last week. He was directionally kicking. So all the punts that I saw, they were great.
Was there a problem with the crosswind because he was only playing in half a stadium?
No, the problem was that they were playing that game at 9 in the morning.
Well, yeah, okay, there is that.
This man didn't have as many. It was
dude's got to get breakfast.
He didn't get to have as many wheats. I watched one punt that he had where he was on his like 20. I think he was on the 30 or 35. Punts it, drops it on the opposing 40, and it bounces straight up in the air. The receiver goes to catch it, and by the time the ball hits his hands, he's getting clobbered in the chest. He dropped this thing on a dime. It was beautiful to watch.
Okay.
But yeah, he didn't have any of the boomers. This is the
subtle
Matt
art
Araiza
of...
goes to top. This was Matt Araiza goes to Top Golf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
He wasn't hitting it over the fence. He was just hitting every single spot on the field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's a good analogy there. That's exactly what
Okay.
he was doing. He was just dropping them all over the place, just no boomers. San Diego State very quietly has one of the best defenses in the country. The run defense is really, really good, but overall, in total defense, they're in the top 15 in the entire country. Brady Hoke's living his best life. San Diego State, go finish this thing off.
Okay. Soccer stadium with Brady Hoke's defense, probably a soccer score. Aztecs win the Mountain West Championship by like a 3-1, I think is going to be how that goes. At 3:30 p.m. at Cajun Field in lovely Lafayette, Louisiana, the Sun Belt Fun Belt Championship game. You will find this on ESPN. It features Appalachian State at let's call it what it is. Number 24, Louisiana. The Mountaineers are favored by 3. The AJ Fun Index is to me a surprisingly low 53 points. But perhaps you guys can tell me why that is. Carla, what do you think about this one?
I was kind of hoping you were going to go with AJ first on this one.
AJ, please. What I meant to say was,
the reason this is a low scoring game is because Louisiana's offense isn't nearly as high powered as it normally is, and App State just runs the football. They play they play rock fight football. So these kind
of Midwestern again.
This is Appalachian football, so it's bring a lunch pail sort of thing. By the way, fun fact: Boone, North Carolina, is exactly 3,333 feet above sea level.
Yes.
App State. I'm interested to see how Louisiana responds, seeing as their head coach just got hired by Florida. Does Billy Napier coach this game? I haven't looked. Could be a bit of a distraction this week. I think Louisiana does go out and get the job done. Louisiana's quarterback was supposed to have like a really, really great season, Levi Lewis, and has had really a mediocre season, very much a Josh Allen senior year sort of thing. Like, he's thrown for 2,500 yards and 18 TDs, which is fine, only 4 picks, but he's not having this like all world season like he had through 2020. So I like Louisiana to maybe get up and try to win one last game for Billy, but I could definitely also see App State coming in and just being a much more focused team because their head coach didn't just get hired away.
Okay. Carla, your turn.
Coaching distraction was definitely something I had on my radar.
Yes.
Because especially with when you're going from at the group of 5 level, that can really affect games and the mindset of a team overall. So yeah, I think that's definitely a factor here. And then just for selfish reasons here, I think I'm going to lean Appy State in this game, and sentimental reasons, because it was an Appy State game that I watched that was the first college football game that Ellie ever experienced. We were in the hospital at Vandy, and I turned on Maction. I think it was a Thursday night. That there was an Appy State game on, and we watched a good chunk of that game through most of the evening. So sure, Appy State.
I was thinking the same thing about coaching distraction, and I think that's enough. Especially given that Appalachian State's the favorite in the game to start with. Good ball control offense. I feel like if the Raging Cajuns had an advantage, perhaps that is negated by the fact that their head coach is leaving or has already left. I don't know what his status is for this weekend or not. But I see Appalachian State winning this one. At 4 p.m. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, the SEC Championship. This is, of course, on CBS. Number 1 Georgia versus number 3 Alabama. The Bulldogs are favored by 6.5 points. This game has an AJ Fun Index of 50.5. Carla, what do you think?
First of all, the Fun Index seems high. Take the under.
Yeah.
So we're back right where we started at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
we had this conversation at the beginning of the season regarding Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that Georgia is capable of winning. Probably should win.
Mm-hmm.
And the big question, will they?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the same question we have every single time Georgia puts themselves into this situation. We talked about it in the very first episode that we did before Ellie. That this is the question. Georgia's put themselves back into this situation. Can they get it done? They absolutely should. We saw what Auburn was able to do to Alabama's offense last week. It's really easy to make that Alabama offense get out of sync if you're playing decent defense, which the Georgia defense should absolutely be able to do.
Yeah.
Playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium is essentially a home game. This is a game that Georgia absolutely should win. And yet I am concerned that they'll actually be able to pull it off, because that's the history of this SEC title game. I'm going to go ahead and say this is begrudgingly, this is the year Georgia gets it done.
Okay.
But I'm going to be holding my breath.
Okay.
Up until the end of that game, unless Georgia is able to really kind of pick up a lead. Stetson Bennett here, like, he just has to score enough points to keep Georgia ahead. He doesn't have to win the game for them. He doesn't. The Georgia defense will win the game for them. So
I've not been a Stetson Bennett fan, but I do have to admit that he has stepped up significantly from last year.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to carry the game, but that certainly is helpful. AJ, what do you think? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you good?
I was just saying, I mostly want Georgia to win because I want Alabama out.
Okay. Right. All right.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. AJ, what do you think?
I hear you, Carla. Alabama has looked weird all season. They've looked distinctly beatable. Arkansas made them look silly. Auburn made them look real silly. Obviously, they lost to A&M. If Georgia's defense plays the way that Georgia's defense has played all year, you're gonna see some really stupid columns. You're gonna see is Alabama done? My column. You're gonna see a lot of that on Twitter. Okay. There's going to be a lot of obituaries being written after this game if Georgia can come out and play the way that they can. The SEC championship game is also weird in that in various seasons where it looks like there's one very clear you gonna die sort of team, and then the other team, like Georgia, this year's Georgia and Alabama looks like, oh, you don't have it together. This is going to be a problem, and this team's going to wipe the floor with you. The SEC championship game has this very weird, evening factor that comes in. Go back and look at, last year's Alabama-Florida game, where Alabama looked like they looked like Alabama, right? Florida almost beat them in the title game. It came down to the last drive. So I see a possibility of that happening here, where Alabama figures out some things this week. Maybe they go, oh, hey, actually, we were terrible at blocking. Nick Saban has been very clear through the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Spencer Hall from Channel 6, Moon Crew, Every Day Should Be Saturday, had a whole thing about the analytics of a Nick Saban rant on Channel 6. where he basically broke down Nick Saban losing his mind on a Coach Colin show. And one of his points was, generally you can see, like, whatever the coach is saying externally, the opposite and inverse is what he's actually saying to the players. And weirdly, Nick Saban this year has been very nice in public. He has been saying, we're a really young team. We're just trying to get it together this year. And, we just got to go out and play better. Meanwhile, deep inside, there is a fire that is inextinguishable inside that man's body about the way his team has played this year. Georgia, watch out. Give me Bama. Bama has to play their way in. Georgia can lose this game and still get into the playoff. Yes. Bama has to play their way in. Bama comes out, and I see Bryce. This, by the way, a reminder, this is also the first time that Georgia has seen an offense with a pulse.
True.
Tennessee put Georgia under pressure for the first half. Then Georgia came out and said, oh, you were doing all that, and broke their necks. But this is the first time Georgia's had to play an offense with a halfway decent pulse. If Alabama can come out, block well for Bryce Young, and really get after the ball and actually score points, this could be really interesting. Give me Bama.
Okay. I'm taking Georgia. The defense wins championships, that sort of thing. I also I wonder about I wonder about momentum. I think Georgia has successfully kind of built upon itself every week. They don't have a lights out offense. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but they do have a better offense. They have it's efficient. It scores enough. And then we're talking about an Alabama defense that is kind of and this time I think we've gone through the whole season saying Alabama has an offense or defense, whereas in past seasons, we go through a couple games at a time where you start to scratch your head, and then the Death Star blows up and things are restored to their natural order. I agree, AJ, that the title game in the SEC is a weird kind of standalone thing that doesn't always carry over from the regular season. But Georgia has distinguished itself in a way that Alabama generally does, and I see that continuing in this game. Tight game, fun game, absolutely. Bama's not going to roll over and die here, but I think the Bulldogs are going to come away with a win. At 4 p.m. in Nippert Stadium in lovely downtown Cincinnati, the American Athletic Conference Championship. You'll find this on ABC. You will find number 21 Houston, at number 4 Cincinnati. The Bearcats are favored big, 10.5 points, AJ Fun Index of 54. AJ, what do you think?
Write this down. This is going to be the funnest game of the day.
Funnest game of the day. How do you spell funnest? F-U-N-N. Okay,
M's.
I got. Okay, gotcha.
Funnest day of the game.
Okay.
Funnest game of the day. This is honestly, if you go look at the stats of these two teams, it's the Spider-Man meme. They're just pointing at each other. They're the exact same team. Yes. They both put up about 30-some points a game. They give up about 15 to 19 points a game. They give up about the same yardage per game. They put up the same number of yardage per game. Their quarterbacks are separated by 13 yards of passing in terms of difference in terms of numbers of passing. Clayton Tune has thrown 26 touchdowns. Desmond Ridder's thrown 27. They've both thrown 8 picks. Their running backs each have 16 to 17 touchdowns and are differentiated by 200 yards of rushing offense. They're basically the same team. Cincinnati just has fewer losses. In fact, they have no losses. So
no losses.
They have no losses. Houston has 1 loss. This is actually one. This is the main test of Cincinnati to get into the playoff. If they win, they're in. Houston, however, has played really, really well this year. This game should be super, super fun. I'm picking the Bearcats. They're going to get into the playoff. We're finally going to get a G5 team in the playoff. I respectfully just say, I'm sorry that your first time in the playoff is playing God level defense at Georgia. But I think that Cincinnati's going to come out and win this game, but this game should be closer, should be more fun. And this is the game that you should have on.
Okay. Carla, you're kind of our Holgo whisperer here. Does Houston have a shot to win this?
And I was going to ask AJ why the line was 10.5. Like,
yeah.
That feels like everything you just said is the same thing that I saw. I'll be honest. Has anybody seen a ton of, no, that's AJ's on the show. I shouldn't say this. Say who's watched a lot of Houston football this year? Not me. Obviously I watched Cincinnati beat Notre Dame, and that was, and so that they're capable of winning these big time games. I'm just curious with the way the statistics line up so evenly, why Cincinnati was favored by 10.5. I think Cincinnati might need to win by 10.5 if things start getting crazy with other title games to ensure that they're in the playoff. They're sitting there at number 4. Committee's done stranger things, right? Like, I think if I'm Cincinnati, I want to make sure that if I have the capability of winning by a greater margin, I'm going to do it. And not let your foot off the gas, but Fickle has proven that he's going to do that anyway. I'm not super concerned about that. I don't know. I think this game could, and you've got Holgerson sitting on the other sideline, right? Like this game, super, super intriguing. I think both these games, these afternoon games sitting in this time slot, I think Alabama Georgia is going to be interesting in a different way than Cincinnati Houston's going to be. I want the group of 5 in the playoff so badly that I'm going to say Cincinnati, but it's like by this much. And if you're not watching, I'm like holding my fingers very closely together. Cincinnati by 3. I just don't think that this game is going to be a blowout, even though Cincinnati probably needs the style points. But
do you think is a win by Cincinnati, a close win by Cincinnati, enough to get him in?
I would like to think so.
Okay.
I mean, my gut says yes.
Okay.
But you don't want to leave anything to doubt. Stranger things. I mean, this whole season has just been bonkers.
True.
I think the answer is yes. I think if they win, regardless of how much, I think they're in.
I think so as well.
The committee's been very clear that they appreciate that these teams are winning. Cincinnati has to play the schedule that they play. Right? They are still undefeated. If they win their conference championship game, they are an undefeated conference champion.
Yep.
And in any other division or in any other conference, that's almost guaranteed to get you into the playoff. Right. So I don't see them. They've been very fair to Cincinnati this entire time.
Yeah.
Right. They've not said, oh, you're an undefeated. They're not hitting them. I'm sorry, Marshall fans who may be listening. They're not hitting them with the first playoff Marshall where they're an undefeated QC team, but they're ranked 23rd the entire time. Right. They very clearly put Cincinnati into the top 4 for multiple weeks now. And they've not removed them regardless of what's happening above or below them, right? They are treating them as an undefeated conference champion would be. So I don't think Cincinnati needs to put on the style points. I think they definitely should put on the style points if they can to super duper solidify it. But I don't think that if they beat Houston, 30-29, that they don't get in over, a 2-loss Alabama or something like that.
Okay. There has got to be major anxiety in Cincinnati, in the Bearcats training facility and the university about what happens with Luke Fickell, because literally every single thing I've read about the Notre Dame vacancy mentions him first. We've talked about the timing, so I kind of feel like that is the change that's going to happen. And it's not there's no danger of it kind of interrupting the flow of what's going to happen with this game on Saturday and what the Bearcats will have to do with the playoff. I mean, so if there's a possibility that his situation changes, that could change dramatically what's going to happen on Saturday. I don't think it will. I think the Bearcats win this game and seal a spot. I think that's a win, and they are in the Final Four. At 8 p.m. in Lucas Oil Stadium in lovely downtown Indianapolis, the Big Ten Championship. You will find it on Fox. You will be able to hear Gus yelling about it for hours beforehand. Number 13, Iowa is playing another school. That other school is favored by 10.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a Big Ten appropriate 43.5 points. I'm going first on this one. I will hate watch this on the small TV while I watch the other 8 p.m. game, which we will discuss here shortly. Whatever happens will happen. I don't care. Blah, puke, whatever. So, Carla, what do you think about this one?
The possibility, I mentioned this earlier, the possibility of a Utah-Iowa Rose Bowl exists, people. Yeah. I'll allow a moment for mourning.
Silence. Shush. Okay, we're good.
Okay. So here's the thing. We talked about this a little bit after Michigan won last week. Have you been act like you've been there before to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I'm concerned about. So much relief after winning last week. Iowa's a team that can come back and bite you. We all have experienced that at one point or another.
Yes, we have.
This Iowa team is good. They are a good football team. They're real good against the run, which means that this game could play out the way that last weekend probably should have played out had Ohio State been able to stop the run, which they couldn't. Iowa is better against the run. Michigan's gonna have to rely a lot more on Cade McNamara in this game than they did against Ohio State. This game is going to be real tight. I don't like the fact that Michigan is favored as much as they are. I do think they are the better team. I do think they will figure out a way to win this game. But this game is going to be much closer than anybody expected, which means that we're going to have a whole lot more Gus. And for the annual soapbox,
yes,
don't play this game indoors, Big Ten. Play it in Soldier Field. Okay, I'm done.
That
Wolverines win.
That would be cool. AJ, what do you think?
Hi, this is your buddy AJ. I have ranted for years about how trash most of the Big Ten is. And now it's come to fruition. You have to watch this game. This is your fault.
This
is your fault.
You gotta watch. Made this bed.
As Preds fans in Nashville would say, it's all your fault. It's all your fault.
All your fault. One, why is Michigan State favored by 10.5? That's silly. Number one. Number two, to quote the Solid Verbal, this is the epitome of a letdown look ahead sandwich. Oh, this is a letdown look ahead sandwich of the foot-long variety. What is Michigan coming off of? The deep catharsis of finally getting the monkey off their back and winning against Ohio State, and not even in a little bit of a way, in a whomping sort of way, right? Yes. You rushed the field in the most orderly fashion possible. You talked about how you encircled them like Stalingrad in the Northern Front, right? You had all of your great Michigan war dad things. And what do you have to look forward to? All you got to do is beat Iowa, and you're in the playoff. Playoff? You can actually do it. You can actually make it to the playoff. But to do it, you got to beat Iowa. Ooh. Hey, Michigan, you know the team you just beat, the team in gray and red, that one? Ask them how beating Iowa can go. Well, not that often either, really. Number three, I would like to point out that Carla and Crappy have for years talked about how they need to play this game outside because it's in Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yes.
Why has nobody mentioned the fact that Lucas Oil Stadium has a retractable roof?
I didn't know. I did not know.
It does. It very much does. Apparently, the reason they don't open the roof ever is because they built the stadium with a retractable roof, but didn't put drainage in. So the roof goes back.
Wow.
But if it were to snow or rain, there's nowhere for the water to go. So,
and it fills up like a gigantic Lucas Oil bathtub.
Lucas Oil barrel. Now,
Yeah.
This game is going to be terrible. It's going to be slow and plodding, and somebody's going to be drinking a snifter of brandy and screaming at their television that they need to be running with more fullbacks. This game is going to be terrible, and you should not watch this game. I don't even want to tell you who I think is going to win because it doesn't matter. Don't watch this game. It's going to be and it's going to be like, I don't know, 7-6 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and someone is going to mount some like game-ending like field goal drive to try and win it, where they will likely fail. But it doesn't matter. You should not watch this game. Let Big Ten football just be what it is. Go Hawkeyes, and keep Michigan keep the Big Ten entirely out of the playoff. That would be even funnier to me, because weren't we talking earlier in the year about 2 Big Ten teams getting in, and then the season ends and they Pac-12 themselves out of it completely? Give me that. Let's go talk about funner football crap.
Here is an alternative. Starting at the same time in the Bank of America Stadium in lovely Charlotte, North Carolina, the ACC Championship game on ABC. It is the game none of us knew that we wanted at the outset of this season, but it is the game 2 weeks ago we all wanted desperately. And for reasons I'm not even sure why. Number 15 Pitt versus number 16 Wake Forest. Pitt is favored by 3 points. A more than respectable AJ Fun Index of 72.5. AJ, you've made it clear we are not to watch the Big Ten Championship. Tell me why we should watch this game.
Because they're going to actually do stuff that you're going to want to watch. They're going to throw the football. There's going to be people catching the football, and then they're going to run past this line called the end zone, where you score more points
over
than when you
and
kick
over
a field goal.
And over.
Dave Clawson, and by the way, I don't know, we got to put some respect on Pitt. We've been talking beautifully about Kenny Pickett, aka Kenny Flickett, aka Kenny Heisman, aka it's time to score touchdowns, Kenny. We've talked very, very deeply about the growth and the potential of what they did with Kenny Pickett.
Yes.
We need to put some respect on Pitt OC Brennan Marion and the go-go offense.
Okay. Yeah.
Brennan Marion came up from the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. That's why it's called the go-go offense, because go-go is a type of music. You should go listen to it. It's very fun to listen to. But the go-go offense he brought to Pitt, and he's letting Kenny Pickett throw that football. They want to go fast. They want to score a ton of points. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Pat Narduzzi running a really stout defense.
Yes.
This is why Pitt is ranked 15th. It's why they've played really well all year. Wake is going to want to put up a ton of points because Dave Clawson and the Clawfence have been playing lights out football all year as well. This is the game I said the game of the day was going to be, I've already forgotten what the game of the day was. That's how I felt about it at the time.
There are too many games.
I've already forgotten it. There are too many games. I said Houston Cincinnati is going to be the game of the day. Once that game is complete, the game of the day will be Pitt and Wake Forest.
Okay.
This should be super duper fun. You don't have to watch Big Ten football. There is a fireworks factory on fire on ABC. You should go watch that instead. Go Panthers, hail too.
Okay. Gotcha. Carla, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you look at these offensive numbers and they're just absurd, right?
Yes.
Between these two teams. And remarkably, and I don't think enough national attention is put on this, because if you don't dig into these numbers and look at them, Pitt actually has the more prolific offense, even though Wake's the one that gets all the national attention for their offense, right?
Yes.
And that's credit to all the people that AJ just rattled off. Kenny Pickett getting Heisman consideration out of Pitt. I mean, if you had that on your bingo card for the 2021 season, congratulations, because nobody else did. AJ's checking his bingo card at the moment. He didn't. Okay. Wake has proven that they can. I mean, both these teams have losses that are kind of head scratchers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The games that they should have won that they just didn't. Pitt does that every year. Wake's not used to winning like this, right? So you've got these two teams that at the beginning of the year, if you had this in the title game, everyone would have laughed at you. But here we are. Game's gonna be silly fun, and it really, really, really pains me as a Penn State fan to say this.
Do it.
Pitt wins.
Okay. Sometimes, Carla, you got to bite the bullet and take it from someone who has learned that lesson anew in the last few days. There is a hair on fire quality to Pitt's offense that is absolutely entertaining to watch. Wake scores and scores and scores. The variable here is Pat Narduzzi's defense, and I think we've as we've mentioned Pitt a couple times this season, we have talked about the fact that particularly front seven, a D line and solid linebackers, they don't. I mean, you've got Kenny Pickett on the other side of the ball, and he attracts a lot of the attention. But don't sleep on the D line for the Panthers. That is where you find the difference in this game. There will be points, and lots of them. But Pitt's defense makes the win, and your Pittsburgh Panthers will come away with an ACC championship at the end of Saturday night. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and TuneIn, I think is what I'm trying to say there. Stitcher and TuneIn, by the way. You can watch us on YouTube and the show's Facebook page. If you do like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't like us, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next time, which is a date that we have not determined yet, to see exactly how wrong we were. Guys, briefly, one final thing. Carla.
Another good thing that I saw last weekend that I just forgot about.
Yes.
So many snow games. Is there anything better? Anything better than watching football being played in the snow, where they have to like shovel the field to like figure out what the yard lines were? My dad was here, so we watched the Penn State Michigan State game,
and that was fun. And
it was stupid fun.
Idea.
Like, even though Penn State lost, like it was fun to watch. Like I don't remember, it was Sean McDonough calling that game, I think. Whoever was calling that game, you got those calls where like, he's down at, I think, the 37-yard line. We're not entirely sure, right? Like, those games were the worst to cover, but they're the best to stay home and watch. So yeah, that's going to be a lasting memory for this year from college football. Contrasting that, my MTSU Blue Raiders have accepted a Bullworth to the Bahamas.
Perhaps
we'll talk more about that later.
Perhaps foreshadowing what bowl game Carla's going to pick when Bowlapalooza comes up here in a couple of weeks. AJ, a final thought from you?
We're getting into bowl season.
Yes.
Please mind yourself before getting too excited about bowl projections. Some people will put things out there because they like the spice of it. A couple I saw, one was Florida and UCF in a bowl game. I really like that one. I just want that one for like pure anxiety reasons.
That'd be fun.
There was another one. Oh gosh. But honestly, bowl season's coming up. You're going to see a lot of very stupid games. I hope that we get some very silly games. I see that Memphis accepted a bid to the Hawaii Bowl already. I believe Hawaii, all they need to do is just accept their bid and they'll just stay home. East Carolina's in the Military Bowl. Like, listen,
it's coming.
We're about to have bowl season, which is just generic football content that doesn't matter, and they should just play these games at the beginning of the year instead of the end of the year. But nevertheless, here we are.
It's the holidays, though. It's the holidays. It's fun. It's celebratory, and you get my one final thing is the flip side to not winning that last game of the season is there's no playoff anxiety. There's no, are we going to get in, or what's going to happen? Who are we playing? Ohio State's going to go to a bowl game. That's fine. Yeah. And there are literally dozens of other games that matter not, except for make the fan base happy. The teams get extra playoff, team gets extra practices. You go to someplace sunny and warm, or you go to, like Mobile, Alabama, which may not be. And
somebody's got to play a football game in Montgomery, Alabama on Christmas Day.
Fun. It's fun. It is just fun. It is fun for them. It is fun for us. And all that fun is still on the way. Boys and girls, as all of our final thoughts have been about the bowl season and what's coming up. And that means Bowlapalooza is coming soon. I will be honest, we have not discussed a date. But as typically happens, you can expect that around the middle of December. Obviously, we will ping you guys when we know that's coming and who's on and what we're talking about and all of those fun things. And in the meantime, do enjoy all of the conference title games that are coming up Friday and Saturday. Sit, overdose. Just don't watch the Team with the Ugly Helmets at 8:00 on Fox. I just don't do it. I'm not gonna. No, I'm gonna hate watch it and hope they lose. This is hard, guys. I haven't had to deal with this in 9 years.
You're just like Oklahoma.
That's right. I am just like Oklahoma. AJ, thank you for joining us once again and getting us through all of this stuff. Carla, it is for the second week in a row. It is awesome to have you back here. I'm crappy. I'll be in a better mood next time, I promise. And guys, thank you for watching, listening. Please be sure to go back and watch the first 5 minutes of the video, just so you can see AJ getting excited about the coaching stuff, because it's really funny. Okay. Watch, have fun with games this week, and we will be back here soon for Bowlapalooza. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.